Hello, welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack, and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news. We're back. It's been a couple of weeks, and I'm delighted to be back. And we've got a lot to talk about, as we always do. Obviously, we haven't been live in a couple of weeks. It was away on holiday, so we've got plenty to discuss. Manchester United, have they agreed a deal with Brian Mbeumo? Personal terms potentially have been agreed with him, and it's up to club discussions now. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got a lot to talk about in relation to the striker situation at Manchester United. A lot has been said, a lot has gone on in the last couple of weeks. Ekitike, Hugo Ekitike is the hot name at the moment, the last couple of days. So we'll talk about him. 100 million. I don't think so. We're also going to talk as well about Viktor Osimhen. We're going to talk about Viktor Gyokeres and what the best option there for Manchester United is. We had breaking news today as well, potentially, that Andre Onana is going to stay at Manchester United, so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about sales as well. Where are all the sales, everybody? And it's a bit of a concern now at the moment, I'm not going to lie. Why aren't we getting sales done already and so far? We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about Rashford, Anthony, Garnacho is a big one as well. And as course, guys, anything you guys want to discuss in the live chat, get your comments in, get your thoughts, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, happy days. And let me know what's going on in the chat. Good to see you all. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. As always, guys, looking forward to jumping back into a load of transfer talk shows over the coming weeks, because the transfer window is back open again. So happy days. But anyway, guys, we're going to jump in and we're going to talk straight away about Mbuemo. We're going to talk about Mbuemo first and foremost, because there's been a lot, I suppose, of discussion around him the last couple of days, maybe a week or two, or so on and so forth. To be honest with you, I'm finding it hard to tell how often or how long ago stories have been broke, because when you're on holidays, days blend into each other. So yeah, bear with me on that one. But anyway, Fabrizio Romano has given us an update on Mbuemo today, and he has said that discussions are ongoing for Mbuemo. They have an agreement with the player in place, but it's still discussing club to club, so no deal done. And of course, we know that it's all going to come down to a figure more than anything else, isn't it? And Manchester United are working on that figure at the moment. We did see, we saw, didn't we, that Spurs came in for a small while there, a little minute, about potentially coming in and hijacking the deal. Was that, potentially going to happen? I was never overly concerned about it. I thought it was all based around Thomas Frank actually getting the job at Spurs, wasn't it? And other than that, I don't think there was any real concern about him going there. It looks like, he has pretty much nailed his colours to the mast and said it's going to be Manchester United as a number one priority. So as long as Manchester United are there, that is where he wants to go, and that's something that we are, obviously happy with. Look, we do know them number 10 positions were, hot topics throughout, I suppose, throughout that first little phase of the transfer window. We got Cunha in, and all of a sudden, I think the following day when Cunha was confirmed, we had Mbuemo given his priority to Manchester United. And it just goes to show maybe the concern that Ruben Amorim had for that position. And again, on the surface of things, coming off of the back of a very disappointing season, the main issue that we're talking about is the striker. But the more I think about it, the more I agree with what we're doing, going out and trying to strengthen that number 10 position. We spoke about, even before the transfer window started, I suppose, it's going to be a striker market this summer, because everyone is looking for a striker, aren't they? We're looking for one. Chelsea have got one. Arsenal are looking for one. Liverpool are probably going to be looking for one. And that's just in England, So I thought it was always going to be a scenario or a case where the pursuit of a striker was going to run on a little bit. And I think that's going to be the case, and we'll get onto that in a moment. But I do think that, dealing with the number 10 position quite early on is something that, it certainly gives me a lot of relief, because now we're gone completely. Now we're back successfully. This might have done it. I think I might have fixed it. I think I might have fixed it. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat if I fixed it, because we're getting 0% drop frame rates now. I may have fixed it. I may be a genius. Hopefully we're not getting any lagging issues anymore. We're getting no more warning messages anyway. Thumbs up in the chat. Let us know. Let us know. Anybody? Hello? Are we back? Are we there? Are you there at all? Mint, says Paul. No lagging anymore, is there? Have we fixed the lagging issue? Let me know. Someone tell me. Let me know if it is lagging anymore. If it's not, thumbs up. Just someone thumbs up. Anyway, I'm going to continue. The warning messages on my OBS are gone. All good. Right. Perfect. Paul is giving me mint, and Party Pooper as saying all good. You have a lovely glow about you. Were you away? Yeah, you seem grand. Yeah, I was away 27 degrees for 2 weeks over in Calamalore in Mallorca. So happy days. Happy days. Anyway, look, happy days. We're back. No lagging. Let's get involved. 1 second. I want to zoom in a little bit because all my settings are all fucked up from last time. Right, let's talk striker, guys. Let's talk striker, okay? Because it has been a hot topic in the last couple of days and weeks. Now, we know what's going on, don't we, with Gyokeres, and we'll get into that in a moment. We'll talk about Osimhen, but I want to start with Hugo Ekitike. Okay, I want to start with Hugo Ekitike because he's the name on a lot of people's lips at the moment. And in relation to it, Graham Bailey has said today that Manchester United, Premier League clubs who are interested in Hugo Ekitike are being told that he will be allowed to leave Eintracht Frankfurt for less than €100 million price tag this summer. Well, I would bloody hope so, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it would be catastrophic to spend that type of money. It really, really would. Fabrizio Romano has also given his update on it. He said Ekitike is a player appreciated by Manchester United, and also Christopher Vivell, who knows the player well because he's worked in the Bundesliga with Hoffenheim and RB Leipzig. So he's always monitoring the Bundesliga. And look, we know the connection that Vivell has to the Bundesliga, and we know, you know, a lot of the younger players he kind of specialises in, and he's got very, very good knowledge in that area of the world. So that's obviously good to have. Sky Sports have weighed in with it as well, and they have said Man United have held initial talks with Eintracht Frankfurt over Hugo Ekitike. It's thought that the player could be open to a potential move. Now, Fabrizio Romano has thrown cold water on that, and he has said that no club-to-club talks have taken place, and that Manchester United have reached out to his agent around the possibility of a potential deal, but no actual club-to-club talks have taken place. And that's quite understandable, considering Eintracht Frankfurt seem to be holding quite steady on €100 million. Now, the situation with it, I mean, we just, when it comes to Ekitike, you know, look, he goes to PSG, he doesn't get a sniff. Enrique gets rid of him. He goes to Eintracht Frankfurt, and he's had one good season. Manchester United, in my opinion, we cannot afford to take a gamble on a 22-year-old for that kind of money again. We just can't do it. You know, it in my eyes, it's just not sustainable. It really, really isn't. And I think going in and putting that type of money on the table, and not only do we not have that type of money, but if we did, spending it all on a 22-year-old, and I'm going to say an unproven 22-year-old, because, you know, I think he is unproven. He's had one good season, you know, fair play to him. He's 22 years of age, but his stats, I mean, his stats this season in the Bundesliga, I'm just getting them up here. I mean, his stats this season are good. You know, they are good. Of course they are. But they're good in the Bundesliga. You know, Bundesliga doesn't translate to a good Premier League player. He's got 22 goals in all competitions, 15 in the league, 4 in Europe, and 3 in the cup. He also has 12 assists. Okay, now good numbers for a 22-year-old. Absolutely, it is. But are Manchester United willing to go down the same route? And I know from a fan's perspective, and you know what we want to see, and that doesn't mean what we want is always right, but I think the urge from the fan base is to have an experienced striker come in and lead the line for Manchester United and not take a risk on another young player who may not return what we pay for him in terms of goals. And I don't think we have the I don't think we have the liberty I don't know we have the liberty to do it. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we have the time to do it. I don't think Ruben Amorim will get the time to bring in a 22-year-old, and if it doesn't work out, will he be given money to go out and sign another striker? Like when Joshua Zirkzee was coming in, we all thought he was coming in to maybe lighten the load for Rasmus Højlund because he was a young player leading the line on his own, but it turns out that Zirkzee wasn't even a striker. We can't afford to go through another season without a proven goal scorer in our team. And for that reason alone, I'm saying Hugo Ekitike to Manchester United. I mean, I can't see it happening. It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. And it's all down to, you know, you're talking about £100 million for a player who has scored 22 goals in the German league. It just doesn't make sense to me. It really, really doesn't. It really, really doesn't. What are you guys thinking here? Said it twice in different places, and I'll say it here now. If 100 million is the price tag, that better be in fucking one. I'll double check it if Sky Sports told me my name. Going by Sancho, good in Bundesliga, equates to half decent League One level player. So there you go. Like, now, I've always said that for me, it's between the two victors. It's got to be between the two victors for me. And look, we know about Gyokeres, and you know we'll talk about him in a moment. But I mean, Osimhen is a player that Man United are quite interested in. Now, we're not the only ones. Al Hilal are not giving up on him, says Fabrizio Romano, and they want to submit a new proposal to the player. He rejected him 10 days ago. The race is open as Galatasaray and Premier League clubs are still there while Juventus called again. I think it all comes down to salary with Viktor Osimhen. He wants 12 million net per year. And Manchester United are not willing to give that kind of money in terms of a salary to a player, and rightly so. You cannot be going out and doing the David De Gea, Sanchez kind of salaries again, because it will take the best part of a decade to filter it back out of your squad, because every player is going to want to do has a good season and they're going to think they're entitled to it. Viktor Osimhen, Manchester United, from what I've read and from what I understand, Manchester United are very, very interested in Viktor Osimhen and would ideally like to sign him. I was reading today in The Athletic that the type of striker that Ruben Amorim wants, he likes a player that's comfortable with his back to goal, that likes to be able to get in behind, that's good on the front post, that's tall, and Osimhen ticks all of the boxes. I think he would be probably the first choice if Ruben Amorim had maybe Gyokeres, because he's worked with him before. But I think if you take Gyokeres out of the situation, I think Osimhen would be the number one choice for Amorim, because he ticks so many boxes that Amorim likes to have. But again, you know, Manchester United, I'm quite convinced that United are very interested in Osimhen, but he's got to lower his wage demands. And United would be willing to walk away, and are willing to walk away, if he doesn't do so. Now, United are not the United of old, thankfully, where if we wanted Viktor Osimhen, we would be going, right, Osimhen, and we would chase him to the middle of February. We wouldn't get him, and then we go, fuck, who do we get? who do we get? And you end up signing fucking Timo Werner on loan for 12 months. You know what I mean? Thankfully, Manchester United are a little bit more prepared these days when it comes to the transfer window. You know, we're in contact with Osimhen's camp. Well, we have been to figure out what kind of figures he wants and what kind of, you know, salary he would require. We're doing similar things with Gyokeres, and we're also obviously in contact with Ekitike's camp, to see what potentially he would like to have on the table. And again, I don't think it's going to be a scenario where, let's say it was Ekitike, for example. I don't think we would struggle to meet his demands. It's all down to the price, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, it's understandable. It really is understandable. But Gyokeres is another one then, guys. I mean, Viktor Gyokeres is... I mean... Actually, hold on. We're just getting an update on Fabrizio Romano. So I'll put that up on the screen now. I'll tell you what. We'll play it. Let's play it. Can you hear it? No? Let me see. Desktop audio. Here, there we go. Let me turn it down a bit. If you can't hear this, just let me know. But there we go.
Something else regarding also Chelsea and more clubs, and it's about Ugo Ekitike. Ugo Ekitike is one of the big topics of this summer transfer window, so let's clarify what's going on right now. First point, Chelsea 2 weeks ago, it was Thursday, from 2 weeks ago, Chelsea called Eintracht to understand the conditions of the Ugo Ekitike deal. The answer from Eintracht was 100 million euros. Chelsea already signed Liam Delap, they have Nico Jackson on the club, and they don't want to pay 100 million euros. So for Chelsea, the only way is price to drop or go on a different player. Then Manchester United. Manchester United spoke to the agents of the player in the last 3 days to be informed on player situation, asking if the player already committed his future to any other club, discussing with Eintracht about the price. So Man United are informed on the player situation, but still very expensive. Also, Ekitike is expensive for Manchester United, so for 100 million euros is seen as a complicated deal. But Man United are in contact with the management of the player. Don't forget Liverpool in this story. Don't forget...
Yeah, fuck Liverpool. So there we go. Yeah, it pretty much sums it all up, doesn't it? And what we were thinking. It's 100 million is too much money. Now, United, again, going back to what we've said there, it looks like they are keeping all options open. And absolutely, if United don't get one, or if one is absolutely ruled out, then, you know, they will have a couple of other options available, which is good. But as it stands, Hugo Ekitike to Manchester United will not be happening at 100 million euro. And it shouldn't. First of all, we need a rebuild, and you don't waste 100 million euro. Not waste, but you don't invest 100 million euro on an unproven player. 100 million euros got to get you a player that will guarantee you 30 goals a season. And I don't think he would do that in the Premier League straight off the bat. That doesn't mean he wouldn't in the future, but we don't have that kind of time. So getting on then to Viktor Gyokeres, because, you know, Gyokeres is the player that I've said from early doors that I would want to have at Manchester United. I think I could see him wearing a Manchester United jersey, scoring goals in front of the Stretford End, you know, the celebration, all that kind of stuff. I think it just fits. And of course, the Ruben Amorim situation is there. Now, we heard a few days ago, and obviously we haven't been live since, around the fact that Gyokeres has said that he wants to join Arsenal and he doesn't want to join Manchester United. And I think they're a little bit wide of the mark. And again, Portuguese outlet Record was the one to come out with all of this. None of the heavy hitters were reporting on it at all. And Portuguese outlets are not that reliable, to say the least. They then come out the following day with another reports suggesting that Arsenal don't want Gyokeres. And all of a sudden, there's a whole love triangle going on. It's hard to know where the reports are coming from and where, Fabrizio Romano even reported on it that, Gyokeres prefers a move to Arsenal over Manchester United. He's given his priority to there. And then Arsenal come out and kind of say, well, no, hold on now, we don't really want... It looks like Arsenal want Sesko. They tried to sign him in January. Supposedly Arteta is a huge fan of Sesko, and I do think that would open up the door to us. I really do. I think it would be... let them have Sesko. I would rather them get Sesko and us get Gyokeres any day of the week. I really would. And I think it just goes to show the kind of transfer window that we're in, and the usual kind of stuff that goes on around Manchester United. It's hard to know where the Gyokeres reports are being sourced from. If it's the agent of Gyokeres coming out and saying he wants Arsenal, without knowing whether Arsenal are 100% committed to wanting him, then that's a big, big mistake. It's a very big mistake. And I would be looking for a new agent. Is it United pushing, maybe leaking a few stories, trying to get something moving to say, we're here, we want you? And is it Arsenal just coming out and going, well, hold on, we're not committing to anything yet. We want to see how we get on with Sesko first, what his demands are. We're not committing to you yet. So I don't see the Viktor Gyokeres scenario closed, and I do think it will be a bit of a saga going through the summer transfer window. But again, I remain steadfast on what I've said. United can't afford to wait on anybody. If we've got the opportunity to close a deal and again, it's got to be either one of the Victors for me. If we can close out a deal for either one of them, you've got to take it. I think Osimhen is actually younger than Gyokeres, if I'm right in saying that. There's not a lot between them. But you've got to get that experienced striker. Look at this scenario we had last season and look how, desperate we were for goals in the team. When you're looking at Rasmus Højlund just struggling week in, week out to try and score goals and not be able to do it, you've got to go out and try and get a striker. And for me, it's either one of the Victors. It's got to be. Let's see what you're saying in the chat here. D says it's Osimhen or Gyokeres, or unless Morata is available for 5 million quid. Finn says stay away from big money signings would be a good rule of thumb for United. None have ever worked out, and that's another thing that I say about this Wirtz deal to Liverpool for 150 million euro. Name me a deal over 100 million euro besides Cristiano Ronaldo that has worked out. I don't think there is one. You talk about Neymar to PSG, didn't work out because he was brought there to win the Champions League, didn't do it. Same with Mbappe, didn't do it. You talk about, well, United have got a vast array of players. Pogba, I'm not even putting Maguire into it. Sanchez, Lukaku, all of these players for big, big money that didn't work out, and let's hope it goes the same for him. Let's see. Paul says Viktor Gyokeres is the only way to go for me. It'll be a Shearer situation if we don't get him. He'll run away with the golden boot if he goes anywhere else. 100% what we need. Pay him what he wants. Yeah, and again, that's a great point because we don't see an awful lot of reports linking Gyokeres to anywhere else other than the Premier League. So if we don't get him, he's going to score goals against us. Not, maybe directly against us, but he will be with an opposition team in the Premier League by the looks of things, whether that be Arsenal, United, I don't know. That remains to be seen, but we haven't seen too many links for Gyokeres to go anywhere else other than the Premier League, and that is that's something to keep in mind as well. Why does he sound like he... Oh, yeah, read that one. Xerxes will be mint with Cunha and Mbuemo. Well, see, Xerxes is your 9.5, and I can see it working. Xerxes dropping out into the pocket with the two boys going in as well, and, all of them just kind of, rotating between themselves, and it would be a nightmare for the defenders. Absolutely it would. So, I can see that, I can see that. But again, you need that focal point. You need that number 9, that focal point to lead the line for United. I thought Romano was on the live for a second. Someday, maybe, Finn. Someday we'll have Romano on the live. I probably could get him on, but I would have to maybe go down to the credit union and get a loan out, I would say. But yeah. UCC getting exclusive breaking news. There you go. We'll still go for swap to get Douglas Luiz, says Madness. Paul says, I'd rather Sesko with his tongue than him. Tong. And D says, much does Rooney want to come out of retirement? Yeah, there you go. Now, we're going to go from one end of the pitch to another, guys. And let's get away from strikers for a moment. Let's talk about the goalkeeper. And I don't know if you're going to be happy or sad about this, but reports coming out from the Manchester Evening News today have suggested that Andrew Onana is expected to remain at Manchester United this summer, despite reports. Ruben Amorim has a warm working relationship with him. It goes on to say a couple of different things like, you know, he's good in the dressing room, he's the type of character he wants to have, and I don't mean he's the type of character in terms of, you know, a shit goalkeeper, in terms of his mentality and so on and so forth. He seems to be good in the dressing room. Sorry now. I'm sorry, but you don't win games in the dressing room as a goalkeeper if you fucking have Papadom hands. It just doesn't work. I said this early on, even before the transfer window opened. I said, I don't think it's going to be a priority for Manchester United to change the goalkeeper this summer. I think too much open heart surgery needs to be done. And some people will say that the goalkeeper is part of that open heart surgery, and I'm not disagreeing with you. But I think you've got to look at the main area of concern first, and that is the other end. That's putting the ball in the net. We do not put the ball in the net enough. I said for large parts of last season that the defensive side of Manchester United's game was actually not too bad for large parts of the season. And we went through phases where we were bad, and Onana had his part to play and all of that. And, you know, Europe was a big one with, you know, not last season, the season before, when Onana single-handedly knocked us out of the Champions League. I'm not saying Man United won't change the goalkeeper this summer, but I do think it will be low, not low on the priority, but I think it will probably be dependent on sales, if anything. I think when you're talking about Cunha, you're talking about bringing in Mbuemo, you're talking about bringing in a number 9, you're talking about the bones of 150 plus million that you're going to have to spend on them 3 players. You can't go out and sign a goalkeeper for 30 or 40 million on top of that without selling players. So, look, while I don't think the goalkeeper spot is a top priority, what I do think needs to happen, at the very minimum, is that we bring in somebody that can at least halfway challenge him, because Binder hasn't challenged him at all. And I think if we can bring in a goalkeeper that can remotely come in, and if Onana starts making mistakes, we can go, right, well, you know, see you later. Let's get this guy in. You know, I'm all for Tom Heaton. I mean, I think Tom Heaton should be Manchester United's number 1. It sounds like he's going to get another 1-year extension to be Manchester United's third choice. But I don't think Onana is going to be a top priority. I really don't. And more outlets have been saying it. You know, with Manchester United being linked with Ter Stegen in the past couple of weeks, he is now set to remain at Barcelona as well. So, you know, you're talking about Douglas Costa. It's going to cost a lot of money to get him out of where he is, and so on and so forth. Again, I think it's down to sales. I really, really do think it's down to sales. I don't think Onana will be a top priority. And I think a lot of people will disagree with it. But I think it's something we're going to have to take on board over the next few weeks and months, because I don't see it happening anytime soon. I really, really don't. Finn says Onana is the teacher's pet. D says put him back on the flight that he missed. Send him back to where and put, I don't know, yourself in or Osimhen in goal for a season. Keep Onana until Mbuemo signs at least. D says, ask Inter if to do a direct swap for Sommer. Yeah, I mean, they absolutely pulled our pants down for Onana and then got Sommer in for absolute pennies. So, yeah, I mean, they're doing some good business here. Kasper Schmeichel says, madness, no, he's too old. and he's playing for Celtic, yeah, he wouldn't be, I don't think he would be up to it, to be quite honest with you. Now, talking about sales to generate revenue for Manchester United to go out and buy players, where are these sales? We haven't sold anybody yet. Now, look, I know it's early doors, and I don't want to be, fucking riling up the riot crew or anything like that. But I would like to see a little bit more talk about potential outgoings. It's all about incomings, and you look, while that is always a good thing because you're strengthening your squad, we know, don't we, that Manchester United need sales to rebuild this Manchester United squad. They need sales. They need to move players on, and they need to move them on as quickly as possible so you can go out and reinvest that in this transfer window. You know, there would be nothing worse than us losing out on 2 or 3 players because we can't move on a couple of players. And a report today has said that Man United have omitted Antony and Jadon Sancho from the printing list for new shirts, but include Marcus Rashford. Now, this is a big, I won't say concern, but it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. And I think it just goes to show, at some level, wherever this decision was made throughout the club, the confidence levels of moving Rashford on in comparison to Antony or Jadon Sancho. Antony, of course, and Jadon Sancho couldn't be opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of their loan spells away. Antony has gone on, he's been fantastic, he's ripped it up, he's scored loads of goals, and the club want him. Jadon Sancho has went on loan, and the club he went to paid us $5 million just to take him back. And that just goes to show the comparisons between the two. But likewise, both of them have been left out of the printing list for new shirts. And I think that obviously goes to show maybe the confidence that Manchester United have at potentially moving them on. Now, look, we're talking about figures for Antony, for example. And some reports have suggested, with how good he's played, that it could be up to and including 50 million euros, which is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And I think it's a credit to him. And look, Antony didn't work out at Manchester United, and we shouldn't be taking him back. But I'm really, really happy for him specifically, because he's had a really tough time at United. And look, you don't want to see anyone struggle. Nobody wants to see a player come to their club and not do well. Everybody wants their players to come in, to do well, hit the ground running, score goals, have assists, interact with the crowd, don't have 16 celebrations every time you score a goal. And it just didn't work out for Antony. But I'm happy he's gone, and I'm happy he's done well, and obviously for him personally, but more so from the Manchester United standpoint, where we were talking him going on loan to Real Betis, going, Jesus, if we could get 15 million for him, we'd take it. But now we're talking about, would you turn down 40? Because you might get 50. So look, there you go. Now look, with Betis, they're not going to be able to afford Antony on a permanent basis this summer. And some reports this week have suggested that it's going to be another loan deal for the year, but it is going to have an obligation to buy, I think, for around £32 million next summer. And I think an awful lot of is it minimum of 90, maybe 85 or 90% of Antony's wages are going to be covered by Betis. So that's a win-win for United, to be honest with you, because you're guaranteeing yourself £32 million next summer, and you're also getting his wages off the books as well. So that would be a deal that I could see Manchester United going for in relation to Antony. The last thing you want to see is another loan deal with no obligation included in it, where he's coming back to us next year if he has it. I mean, I don't think his stock is going to be as high as it is now. And it concerns me if we send him on loan without an obligation. And I don't want to see any of these obligations with a fucking 5 million return, or let's just keep that receipt there just in case. And here's 5 million, like what happened with Sancho. Because if again, with Antony, he can fluctuate. We've seen him at Ajax play really well, came to United, done nothing. Now he's gone to Betis, done really well. Does he stay with Betis next season and not rip it up? And if there's no obligation to buy in that loan deal, I don't think United are stupid enough to not have an obligation in a new loan deal for Anthony. It's got to be, you pay us 32 million on the 1st of July next year and Anthony becomes your player, or else you're not getting him on loan and we're going to sell him elsewhere in Europe. And that's the way it should be. That genuinely is the way it should be. Jadon Sancho, on the other hand, is obviously a very polarising figure. And, you've got people who love him. Majority of people, especially United fans, don't really have much time for him. I'm in that camp. We're talking, again, around 25 million. I'm not going to delay too much on Sancho, but we're not hearing an awful lot of reports linking him with anyone. I think the only real one we've heard was potentially back to Dortmund again. Now £25 million, just give it to us, move him on. Let's get the show on the road and move on without him. We've already got the 5 million. I mean, Chelsea paid 5 million for him not to play for them. You know what I mean, lad? I mean, just cop yourself on and realise that you're the problem and not, everybody else. That's the thing with Sancho. Rashford is going to be an interesting one. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the last live before I went on holidays, that Rashford is going to drag on. Rashford will drag on until the latter stages of this transfer window. I'm convinced by it, because Barcelona are in no hurry. They're looking to strengthen. Obviously, Rashford is desperate to go to Barcelona, and he is potentially willing to take a pay cut. But by all accounts, the manager of Barcelona is not a massive fan of him. He go, look, I'd love to have him. I'll take him, absolutely. But can you get me someone better? And they're talking about your man Nico Williams. And there's one or two other players that are matching the body of work that they want to have on their left-hand side. Now, obviously, Rashford falls into that scenario. But I don't see Rashford to Barcelona happening anytime soon. I really don't. And he is a player that we can, again, your talks of 40 million euro potentially for him, pure profit on the books as well, but more importantly, needing to reinvest that into the playing squad before the end of this transfer window and before it's too late. Let's see. What are we saying here? Paul says, what about Nicky Byrne from Westlife? Couple of unbelievable double saves in the soccer aid. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all done with Rashford, says Finn. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Right round them melts. Get right round them melts, says D. You three with the Glazers can F right off. There we go. He also says, this is Amram overhauling the first team. He's freezing the players that are bad eggs out. Absolutely. And, we spoke about Amram, didn't we, on a video a couple of weeks ago. And I suppose the likeliness, or not the likeliness, the similarities between him taking over Manchester United and what he'd done at Sporting Lisbon. When he came into Sporting Lisbon, the first transfer window, between Amram not renewing players' contracts that were running out and selling players, he got rid of 25 players in his first year there. He completely overhauled the squad. And there was other players then that didn't want to leave. He just froze them out, didn't play them. He's going to have to do this at United as well. And that means that he needs heavy backing from Ineos, which he is going to get. But he needs that time to build it around and turn it around. And if you can get, right, we've got Cunha, Mbuemo potentially done, a number 9. I think we need 2 centre midfielders? At least 1 centre midfielder. That's 4. I'm going to say 2. That's 5, and potentially another centre back. 6. I think if you could get 6 players in like that. Now, that's an awful lot of work, guys. That's an awful lot of work, and it would require sales. And a lot of them, maybe deals that I'm talking about, those potential deals, would run into the later stages of the transfer window. But if you could get 6 new players in that fit Ruben Amorim's system with the right mentality and the right work ethic and, wanting to sign for Manchester United, you can go from there to there very quickly. And not having the burnout of European football as well means United would have 1 game a week. You don't have to have as big a squad than if you were in Europe. I mean, yeah, I don't see why it has to take another 5 years for Manchester United to be challenging. I really don't. Ben says, if we could get 30 million for Anthony, we would be laughing. Daryl says, I hope Rashford's on his way out the door too. Ben also says, obligation to buy is essential. D says, never mind obligation, the wording has to be mandatory. Yeah, there we go. These signings taking time is worrying. Well, look, the transfer window was only open for a couple of days. Well, it was, what was it? It was a couple of weeks, wasn't it? We saw next to no deals really being done. The only clubs that were really getting deals done were clubs that were going to play in the Club World Cup because they needed players for it. Everyone else, I think, now that the window is open again, you'll start to see it happening. You know, I wouldn't be overly concerned. I mean, we're still only in the second week of July. The second week of June. You know, we've got 10 weeks left. Loads of time. It's going to take time with the transfer window being closed for a fortnight now. Daryl says Anthony and Sancho, Farmers League players at best. Ben says didn't even know that was happening. Struggling to keep up with all the news with everything with work. There we go. Rashford ain't good enough for Barcelona, says Madness. There we go. Right. Couple of quick ones to run through, guys, before we finish up. We're talking about, obviously, exits at the moment. And another player who is heavily touted to leave Manchester United this summer is Garnacho. Premier League rivals circle as Man United winger eyes exit. Now, this is all down to the fact that... Let me take a drink of water. Sorry, 1 second. My throat is... You'd be surprised what a lack of practice of doing these lives, even for 2 weeks of being on holidays. Your whole flow is gone, and also I'll have a sore throat in the morning because of it. Got to build the muscles back up. But anyway, Garnacho has basically said his priority is to stay in the Premier League next season, and obviously Manchester United are going to look to offload him. And while that is understandable, it's not an ideal situation from a fan perspective. And I don't know, how the club really feel about it, but you don't want to see Garnacho going to a rival club. You don't. Whether that be Chelsea, who he's been heavily linked with, or wherever the case may be. Now, if it was, Newcastle maybe. Again, Newcastle are in Champions League. It's hard to say rivals when when United finished in 16th. You know what I mean? So it is hard that way. But yeah, just give me 1 second now. I just want to try and do something here. Just give me 1 sec. There we go. Sorry, I was just changing the subscriber count at the top right. Right, so look, let's go down through this real quick. Tensions reached boiling point at Carrington. Don't mind any of that nonsense. The Argentinian, once lauded as a symbol of United's youth revival, has reportedly decided which league he wants to play in next season. According to the Daily Mail, that league is the Premier League. Despite interest from abroad, Garnacho wants to remain in England. His exit from United, however, now feels inevitable. Yeah, all of that nonsense. We're not reading all of that. Now, United's valuation, despite Garnacho's eagerness to move, United are not willing to let him go cheaply. A £70 million price tag has been set. Excuse me, a figure that is already scared off Bayer Leverkusen. I don't know why that would scare off Bayer Leverkusen, considering they're going to get 150 million for Wirtz. But domestic interest remains. Chelsea, Tottenham and Aston Villa are all reported to be monitoring the situation closely. Now, you might say £70 million seems a little bit over the top, but why can't Manchester United demand this type of money for a player like Garnacho? Why can't we? I think when you look at, obviously, the types of deals with Cunha, for example, 62.5 million over installments. He's more the finished article, really, isn't he? Now, that lends itself to a higher price tag, but then also for a young player, if you're spending 70 million on a young player and you develop them correctly, you've got them for a longer period of time. There's more room for maneuver with them. I don't see Garnacho moving for 70 million. I genuinely don't. I think if United got a 50 million pound offer for him, I think we would probably move him on, to be quite honest with you. Maybe 50 plus add-ons. And again, we're starting to see a little bit of role reversal here from the last few years. You remember, for the last decade, up until before last summer, so, 2 years ago, anytime United were linked with somebody, the price went up by 20 million. And now we're starting to see a little bit of the opposite, where United are going, well, hold on now a minute. We've got competent people in charge here now. Whether that be, Dan Ashworth is gone, of course. We're talking about Barada. He's taking a step back. Oh, no, Barada's the CEO. Wilcox, Vivell. These are all people that are quite competent at getting deals done. So, it's good to see that we are now the team that's going, no, well, we're going to start at 70 and you can start at 40 and we'll meet somewhere in the middle. And if that's 55 plus 5, then brilliant. Happy days. And that's all pure profit. And you're doing something similar with Marcus Rashford, where you're getting 40 million in the door and maybe 5 in add-ons. Brilliant. Pure profit. Anthony, let's get 40 million for you. Happy days. Then all of a sudden, Manchester United are going, well, we've got 140 million pounds raised from sales here from 3 players. Also with the wages taken off the books of Marcus Rashford, of Anthony, of Garnacho. And are you going to move on maybe Casemiro, get his salary off the books? Are you going to sell Rasmus Højlund? Are you going to sell Andre Onana? Whatever the case may be, I think it is quite realistic that United generate at least 100 million from sales this summer. But again, it's all down to how quickly we can do it. And it's good to see that United are now in a position where we're going, no, we're in charge here. You want Garnacho? 70 million. Now, I think the 70 million price tag for Garnacho is maybe a little bit of is a little bit of turning it on its head, turning the situation on its head, where it was quite a public fallout, wasn't it, between Garnacho and the club and the manager. And instantly clubs are going, Dick Dastardly. And I think United now are going, sods to that, 70 million. And clubs are going, all right, well, look, we can't get him for 40, but we might be able to get him for 50 plus 5. And that's how you play the game. That is how you play the game. And it's the way it should be. It really, really should. Now, in terms of Garnacho as well, again, look, there is interest from outside of England as well. And it comes mainly from Napoli. Napoli have decided between Garnacho or Jack Grealish for a £45 million swoop. Now, this £45 million swoop is basically what Napoli have made available for that position. And it's between Jack Grealish or Alejandro Garnacho. Now, I think Conte would like Garnacho more so than Jack Grealish. And I don't see why anyone else would want Jack Grealish over Garnacho. Garnacho is younger. He is hungrier, in my opinion. And I think Jack Grealish would be Jack Grealish. You know what I mean? So, yeah, look, I mean, there is interest there for Garnacho, but it remains to be seen how quickly a deal can get done. How quickly a deal can get done, in fairness. Let's have a look here and see what you're saying. Let's get down through the last few of your comments here. Let's see. Where are we? There we go. What have we got? Who's saying what in the chat here? What have we got here now? Finn says, can't be selling him to a Premier League club. Well, see, that's the thing. If United are desperate to sell him, and he wants to go, and Premier League clubs want him. I mean, Garnacho could go, to hell with you guys, I'm just going to stay put unless you let me go to a Premier League club. And that's okay. That's okay. I would like to see him go abroad because you don't have to be dealing with him, and then he's out with the media spotlight and so on and so forth. But I think there is a situation where he stays in the Premier League. I genuinely do. D says, take yourself for a long walk of a short pier. Absolute disgrace as a professional. Should easily get 50 million for Garnacho, says Madness. What Prem side is going to want him with him giving the fingers to fans? There we go. DJ is in. Good to see you, pal. Good to see you back on a live. Welcome back, man. Glad I was able to catch the live today. Garnacho just wants to stay in the Prem to try to stick it back to us. He seems like the type of person. There you go. And maybe that is the case, you know. And I mean, I don't mind that, to be quite honest with you. I wouldn't say that is a bad thing. That is a player that is maybe trying to prove people wrong. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, anyway, it's been the first live anyway, guys. So I'm gonna get we're back from holidays. We're back on the live, so we're gonna get a little bit of love in the chat there. We're gonna get 5 gifted members thrown in there for everybody. And who have we got that has received them? DJ has got one of them. There we go. DJ, Ida, Big A, Nick, and Neil. Welcome to the members club, guys. 5 gifted members in the chat. Make sure you're joining as a member as well, guys. It helps the channel out an awful lot. I'm going to be doing some pre-recorded stuff over the summer and for the upcoming season. I'm going to say it now. For the upcoming season, next season that is, the watch-alongs are going to take a little bit of a hit. They're going to take a little bit of a hit, I'm afraid, because I am managing a team locally and we play on a Sunday, and something just has to give a little bit. Now, I will still be doing watch-alongs, but they won't be 38 games. You know what I mean? It just won't be. I can't do it. I really can't. I've got to spend some time with the family as well. So I've committed to managing the team here locally, my own club. So I'm going to have to give my time and effort to that. And Chris says he will do them. And if that's something, guys, that the members want as a perk, if you would like to do a, maybe 3 or 4 people do a watch along together, absolutely, we can certainly look into things like that. But my point being, guys, if you join as an official member, there will be early access to all of my pre-recorded stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot of pre-recorded stuff over the summer, along with these lives as well. But once I get back, we're starting pre-season with the team in about 4 weeks' time. So obviously it'll either be Tuesdays and Thursdays or Tuesdays and Fridays. I think that will be gone, so I won't be able to do lives them nights. So I will have some pre-recorded stuff up. But basically what it means is any official channel members, you get early access to all of that stuff as well. And there'll be a few members only videos then as well. I do realise that I've got to get around to the watch-alongs, the old watch-alongs, which I said I was going to do. So basically the old Manchester United games, the 99 final, the FA Cup in 95 where Cantona scored, all of these kind of games I'm going to do watch-alongs, pre-recorded watch-alongs, where I've got the game on the screen here beside me, and I'm just a little box down in the corner and we'll talk about and stuff like that. So that's another perk that's coming up for members. I'm going to get a few of them recorded hopefully this week. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff coming up. So if you do want to join as official member, guys, hit the join button. The link is actually pinned on the top of the chat as well. It's been a great live. First one back. The numbers are absolutely fantastic, guys. Creeping up there to nearly 50 at one stage. So do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if I haven't got through any of your... let's go through some of the... last ones. Chris is in. He says, let's go. Send him Packy's bags. D says, swap Garnacho for Mateta. 30 million for Dan James. Surely we can get 70 for Garnacho. There you go. I think Dan James was the only player we made money on in the last decade. Can't swap Garnacho, says Chris. There we go. Ronan says, hi, Jack. Do you know if we're getting Ryan and Mbeumo? Yeah, just rewinded. I think we will get it running. If you want to watch it back, I was at the very start of the live there. We spoke about him, but yeah, I do think we will get him. So yeah, anyway, guys, yeah, like I said, apologies about the watch-alongs and stuff like that for the upcoming season. But again, look, I've got my full season ticket as well, so I'm going to try and get to Old Trafford for games as well. I'm going to be doing maybe some day trips to Old Trafford, maybe go in the morning, come back in the evening if it's a Saturday game and stuff like that. So there will be content around it. So, you know, please do subscribe. Join as a member. It helps the channel out an awful lot. Yeah, I do appreciate it. But yeah, the numbers are flying up. I appreciate it, as always. Yeah, smash a like in the video. Subscribe if you're new. I'll be back. Guess what? Tomorrow night. We'll be back the same time tomorrow. Make sure as well, guys, that you are following us on Instagram. I'm putting up any of the breaking news that happens throughout the day. I put an awful lot of it up on Instagram, so make sure you head over there. You can turn on notifications. Yeah, and as well on Twitter as well. Make sure, or on X as it's called now. Go over and follow us on that and keep up to date. You love lying in the Glazers' pocket, says Darrell. I love Manchester United, Darrell. I love Manchester United. See you later, guys. Have a good one. I'll chat to you tomorrow. I hope you have a great evening. Peace out, everybody. I'm just trying to keep talking until I can get you out. Bye.